Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Advanced Solo Queue Statistics with your host and subject, Gelati. You may have noticed that there was not an April episode. This was mostly due to the fact that I did not get to play a lot of solo queue in April, as I was organizing a number of other projects and felt that there just wasn't adequate enough a sample size to bring all of you relevant information. So I decided that for this installment I would put both April and May together, and we'll compare it to March. So without wasting any more of your time, let's dive into the numbers. First things first, there were a total of 8 compromised games for this month. What that means is there was either severe lag, a DC, server trouble, trolls, rage quits, dodges, etc., etc. Any other factors that severely impacted the quality of the game for anybody involved. That's for my team or the opposing team. As usual, and as I've been doing for quite some time now, these games will not be included in these numbers. They've been completely omitted. Starting off with our general statistics, we can see that I climbed my way to the top of Platinum 2, but was unsuccessful in my promo series in one attempt at it. It's a slight improvement from last month. The record of 35 and 32 in 67 games is respectable, but it's far from great. We see a slight improvement in KDA from 2.9 to 3.05, as well as an interesting finding in my team KDA remaining exactly the same as last month, as you can see here, the 2.76 to 1. I had a 5-game winning streak and an abysmal 7-game losing streak. Can anybody else say tilting? LP gains and losses remained mostly the same, and CS totals looked similar as well. Slight variations there, but for the most part it was the same. As you can see, in the April-May sheet, I've started compiling CS per minute as something I want to use because I feel it more consistently shows whether I'm farming well and more accurately portrays more of how the farming and income in that game specifically went than just the total number. So we can see I was slightly out-farmed in CS per minute if you exclude the support games. So this is a number that I'll show you in non-support games is the 5.86, and this is my enemy in all games. I say in all games, that includes enemy AD carries when I'm supporting, not enemy supports. Combat grades saw both a significant improvement in the outside lane influence against, which developed into an equally big improvement in lane effectiveness. So it turns out when you don't get ganked often, you can perform better in your lane. So my roaming suffered due to my focus kind of on this lane dominance. So you can see that the roaming effectiveness went from a positive 0.34 to a positive 1.7, which is still good. It still means I'm out roaming my opponents. It's just there's been slightly less of a focus on that this month. My contribution scores just keep on getting better. I'm consistently lowering my negative contribution and improving my positive contribution from month to month. And this has been a trend that's been happening for about 4 or 5 months now, since the second to last month of the season for season 3. However, it doesn't really seem to have an effect or a direct correlation to wins and losses, as I have a winning record in negative games and a losing record in positive games this month. So I'm 19 and 21 in positive games here, and 16 and 11 in negative games. I'm not quite sure if this is like anything direct, or if it has a direct correlation or not. It could just be variance for this month, but like for the last 2 months, that's been what's happening. I'm winning with negative, and obviously numbers aren't everything, but it does help to see that you're contributing to your team in a positive way in terms of the actual score, especially in solo queue, because people get kind of demoralized. So this kind of thing actually matters quite a bit. I'm going to continue to monitor this pretty closely, though, for any sort of correlation, and I might need to develop some sort of added metric or something like that to more accurately portray my contribution to the game, other than just kills and assists divided by team kills and assists, etc. My damage numbers are sky high compared to last month's levels, and last month's levels were, pretty good as they were. They were an improvement from the month before. Um, but the numbers are sky high this month. More than 2.5% increase if you include all games, including sport games. There was a 1.9% increase from 22.5 to 24.4 in games where you exclude all my support games, so mid, jungle, top, AD carry, etc. While I substantially moving on to gold, while I substantially improved my gold per minute this month, my opponents nearly matched my improvement and consistently maintained a higher CS per minute. I kind of pointed that out earlier, but so I've increased my goal per minute from 337.5 to 354.2, but my opponents also improved from 356 to 363. So as the level of play increases, the deeper into the season you get, like the higher up in platinum, and if we get into diamond, etc. Obviously, this number is going to go up and up and up, but I need to make sure that I'm closing the gap a little bit. My support production is down. I mean, support goal production doesn't matter that much, but it does tend to show you how the game's going. And as you can see, the production for that is down substantially, 275 down from 301. So games have been slightly longer, and it's really difficult for the support to maintain a good goal per minute average in that situation. But I've also had fewer kills and first bloods compared to last month's. I mean, we could call it really just a slaughter party in the bot lane, hosted by my Zyra. But that was last month, and I had a lot of support kills and a lot of first bloods last month. And this month, it's more in line. That being said, it's not a good performance. So I'm less concerned about the gold production and more concerned with just poor overall performance. And I'm going to continue to talk about that. We're going to get to more of that in a little bit. Once again, my most played champion was Leblanc for the month. I once again went an even 9-9 with her. I maintained 3.46 to 1 KDA, which is quite good. Not the insanity that I was doing last month, which was almost 4 to 1, which is ridiculous for anything that I've done over a large amount of games like this. My goal per minute numbers are up for both me and down for my opponent when I play her, which is good. That's exactly what you want. It's kind of strange. Roaming suffered a little bit on this champion, but it's because I opted and chose to dominate the lane. So this is potentially going to be something that varies from month to month, depending on how highly you value map pressure and solo queue. Sometimes it's good, sometimes the ganks just aren't there, and you can't force things. So this roaming grade has a decent amount of variance to it. Combine all this with improved damage and contribution scores, and the results that my LeBlanc is still rock solid for solo queue, and I'm very comfortable with it. My second most played was Ziggs with 15 games, but we're actually going to talk about him a little later. And I played exactly 17 champions this month, just like last month, as you can see. So this month, I duo queued a lot. I duo queued more this month than at any other point in my solo queue career. About 37% of my games this month were duo queue games. Now, a lot of this was practicing with a ranked fives team that I've been that's kind of been absorbing a lot of my solo queue practice time. We've been playing 2 or 3 nights a week, and it's kind of the main reason my game amount, the amount of games I've played, is down compared to similar points last year or last season. Anyway, I've only had a positive record with one partner, and as usual, I tend to lose when I duo queue. Although I will say it's not as much this time around. So as you can see, I only had one partner that I went positive with. My record's still 12 and 13, which is, that's about right, or slightly worse than that when I duo queue. My buddy Dan, that's War Pigs on the sheets here, has a great mindset for solo queue, and he and I have had a lot of success. So I'm actually going to look to potentially continue with him in the future, whenever we can. If not, I'm perfectly okay solo queuing. Moving down to match time statistics. Average match times are down about 50 seconds from last month. Um, while match distribution is skewed slightly more toward the 35 to 40 minute sector this month. So you can kind of see last month from 30 to 35 minutes was the majority of the games. This is kind of like a smooth little bell curve. You can kind of see it, happening. So you have 13 to 24 down to 13 or down to 14 again. So 24 was kind of like the peak of the curve, and that was happening around 30 to 35 minutes. This month, the peak of the curve is somewhere between, it's 19 and 20, so it's somewhere between. It's really right around the 35-minute mark. So it's shifted up slightly, and even though the average match time is shorter, I think it's kind of skewing where the actual majority of the matches are played. So I'm going to continue to monitor this and see if the game's trending towards being longer, as it appears to continue doing throughout this season, or if it's going to get shorter with various different vision changes and invade strategies. Pick order statistics remained mostly the same, although I had much less success first picking this month, as you can see. Oof, not good. And I had, a lot of success third picking this month, so that's another one we'll continue to monitor. That's very likely an apparition because I tend to first pick and fifth pick very, very well. So my most frequent opponent this month was Zed. I played 7 games against Zed. Um, 7 was a cutaway. It's pretty far ahead of everybody else. The next closest was Syndra, which I played 4 games against. Kale, I played 3. Kassadin 3. Yasuo 3. And then there was a bunch of champions that I played, 2, 3 times a piece. So the big one was Zed. And I think a lot of people were trying to counterpick Leblanc with Zed. So you'll see the majority of my Zed games are played with LeBlanc. So my strongest matchup statistically was also Zed, which is kind of strange because I never really ever feel comfortable when laning against a good Zed. It always seems like they get the upper hand in lane and they just push me out and I feel under pressure to make a lot of plays. But as it turns out, exhaust is OP. So come late game team fights, and I'm a mid laner that is not afraid to run exhaust on whoever I play. Like I have no qualms with it. So I'm perfectly okay running exhaust, and I'm comfortable with it and know what I'm capable of. So that's a lot of why I think like I still have a good record against Zed, and all of my numbers, as you can see, besides the farm numbers, which are pretty bad, all my numbers are actually moderately good, moderate to good, really. Against Zed, it's just the laning that's an issue, and even then, it's still positive. So my worst matchup by far, though, this is no contest, is Yasuo. I don't know what it is. I just can't figure this champion out. I think it's just going to take some time for me to get used to him because he is the newest champ to really be run in the mid lane like consistently as like a power pick. He's powerful enough for bans, so I don't see him as frequently as I would like, and that includes myself. I've been banning him. I think the main problem is that he significantly outfarms me every game. If you notice, he's got like this 7.6 CS per minute is way ahead of the 6 CS per minute that I have when I'm playing against him, and that's with all champions. So I've only played 3 games against him this month. Didn't win a single game. Lost all 3. Now, granted, LeBlanc, it's kind of a weird matchup. Ziggs is typically in his favor, but I mean, I might have some things to learn in that matchup to make that more even. And Karthus is supposed to be like a soft counter to Yasuo, but I believe the Karthus has got to be like a top-notch, like top-tier Karthus player. And while I'm pretty good at Karthus, I'm not like a Diamond 1 Karthus main that can counterpick against Yasuo. So, and First Bloods weren't really the issue with this matchup. So I think I need to make sure I'm increasing my farm numbers against him. That's going to be the main way to improve. So I actually had some multi-game summoner matchups this month. I had 2 of them, in fact. I played back-to-back games against 2 different summoners. One was a top lane Soraka versus Jarvan that I won. He followed it up with a victory on his TF the next game. That was against Fatman 121. And then against F291. Uh, he played in Italy both games against me. Wasn't really good, to be honest with you. Actually, ended up watching one of the replays pretty in depth. Um, he wasn't very good, but it was a classic case of he just kind of had the better teammates, and the second game was very close. Could have gone either way. So I don't know what this tells me really, but I think it was kind of interesting because this is the first time I've had two of these in a month, so I thought it was kind of an interesting thing to mention. First blood related stats remain pretty close. They were very similar, except I actually have a winning record when receiving first blood now, and last month I did. So that's a slight change. So moving on to positional statistics, we see that as my in-game name suggests, I got to play a ton of mid lane this month. I only went 500, um, meaning I went even record. So I went 27 and 27. Um, and my overall numbers were kind of similar. But as we saw in the overall stats before, the increased lane dominance makes roaming suffer a little bit because you got to kind of opt into one or the other. But again, overall, similar performance compared to last month's awesome performance. So that shows me that this is now the bare minimum bar to be set. So I need to be performing at this level almost all the time from this point forward if I want to move up in rank. So the only real outlier was that I got first blooded a bunch more this month. So I got first blood 6 times, and I got one first blood that I was involved in against once. So the first bloods 4 remained similar. First bloods against much higher. So that's I think I just need to monitor my early games, see if it becomes a problem. I'm gonna need to adjust my play to the tempo of the game a little bit better. I didn't play any 80 carry games this month or last month, so we're gonna skip that. I sucked at support once again this month. My KDA tanked even further, going from 2.25 to 2.11. My income is down substantially. Lane effectiveness is slightly up, so that's a good sign. But overall, I'm struggling a lot for whatever reason. I think I just need to play smarter and have more discipline. And I said that last month, but I think I um, need to actually heed my advice, which is something I always knock other people for, like saying they're going to do it and not doing it. And this is something that I said I was going to do and didn't do. Um, I have been playing a little bit of Thresh in like normal games, team builder with the fives team, just to like practice and learn that champion. So I think he's just about ready for me to bring into ranked. So I'll be adding him and very likely a jungler as well. I played one top lane game. It was top lane Soraka, and it was one of the matches against was that Fat Man 121 guy, and I won. Not good numbers, but it's one game, so it doesn't really mean that much. Same with jungle. I had 3 games. I will mention one thing about jungling though. This was a jungle Udyr, a jungle Evelynn, and a jungle Karthus game. So Evelyn's fairly legitimate. She's actually pretty good in solo queue. Um, I wouldn't say top tier, but pretty good. Maybe I don't know. Maybe she's top tier for solo queue. Anyway, I think this more or less taught me that I need to kind of like learn one of the top meta junglers, whether that's Lee Sin, whether that's Jarvan, whether it's Elise, Vi, Pantheon, anything like that. So I need to kind of pick one of them up and just make it so that I'm comfortable enough to play it. Okay, looking at environmental statistics. Once again, the first game of the session is kind of like my bane. I don't know if it's that I need a warm up, but it's been a consistent problem over the last couple of months. Unfortunately, unlike points during last season, I don't always have time for a warm up, but I may be forced to have to consider it now. My longest session was 9 games, which is one of the longest sessions I've had for solo queue, really in recent memory, maybe last year, maybe since the end of season grind for season 3. I actually do prefer longer sessions. I like being able to just sit down for like half a day and hammer games out. That seems a little weird to some people because they get tired and everything. But like I get more and more dialed in as the session goes along. You'll notice like I perform really well like just before the last game in like almost every session. So, and I actually have the stamina to do it. For me, it's just simply a matter of do I have the time to do it. So, when I'm able to do them, the results from the small sample support that I do prefer longer sessions. Um, Along the same lines, I prefer to kind of spread my playing over the course of the week, but recently I've been unable to play as much during the week, work and a ranked 5 schedule now, which is why my Mondays and Fridays, Saturdays are so like heavily loaded. So I'm gonna look to see if I can be more consistent in my performance. I think that'll help too. Following up with the introduction of I made a high energy mix last month. It was mostly metal tracks and some electronic music. Um, so since the introduction of that, I had a lot of success with the last season. I went last not last season, last month. I went 16 and 10 in 26 games. This month got even better. I went to 21 and 12. So I'm going to continue using this because it's leaps and bounds better than every other musical choice from a statistical standpoint. And honestly, it's been like the best thing since I had that trance kick last year that I was having a lot of success with. So the general overview for April and May. I want to talk about Ziggs a little bit. Ziggs might end up becoming my new number one. While I've been consistent on LeBlanc, I've been picking up Ziggs more as a secondary person when LeBlanc's banned, and I've kind of I've figured out that Ziggs is a consistent performer. I've got 9 wins and 6 losses in 15 games, 6.56 CS per minute. To give you a little comparison, my average across all non-support champions is 5.86. My average contribution score is positive 4.34, which is great. And I only have 4 negative contribution games out of 15. I think it's really important to talk about how Ziggs is great at any phase of the game. He's great when you're ahead, he's great when you're behind, and he's great when you're even too. He's excellent at poking, he's excellent at defending, he's great in team fights. He's very, very versatile, and he's good in a lot of different situations. He has very few bad matchups, LeBlanc being one of them, so if she's banned, Ziggs is usually who I'll go to. And he doesn't need to win a lane or snowball in order to be effective. More poor support performances. Yeah, I know. Brought tears to my life size. I have fewer kills and more assists, so that's a good thing. But I'm still dying way too much. I need to focus more on my positioning. I need to show more discipline and concern with vision and not kills and getting my carry fed necessarily. I need to practice bad matchups. I think this one's self-explanatory. So, my goals from March were to improve my overall support performance, which I definitely didn't do. Make a top lane champion my own, which I definitely didn't do. And even if I did, I only played top 1 game this month. So, thumbs down, thumbs down. And sustain an excellent balance of map pressure and income. So while this balance shifted more from map pressure to income, I did still maintain a healthy balance and had a very solid positive number in both, and a solid improve. So that one was a success. The goals for next month. Support play needs to improve despite having to play the role less. I played the role about 20% less this, or well, 20% fewer of my games this month. It just needs to improve, and I know I'm capable of better, and it's simply just been not a matter of laziness, but not a matter of not focusing. I need to finish adding a top laner. I've been working quite a bit on Vladimir, so I think he's going to end up being my top laner. And I need to work on a meta jungle pick. I need to kind of make up my mind whether it's going to be Lee Sin, Elise, Jarvan, Vi, maybe Pantheon. And third and finally, I need to play more games. I played the same amount of games in March as I did through April and May. And if I sincerely want to get better at this game, I need to be playing more. Now, to be fair, I have been playing a lot of ranked 5s. I played 60 ranked 5 games this month. So that's 60. I could have been playing solo queue for that many games extra. So you can do the math there, but I do need to be playing more, and a lot of it's can be everything from being busy at work to just exhaustion. But I do need to play more. I need to get myself back on a schedule. Along those lines, you can expect me to be streaming more, and I will be trying to maintain a better schedule. You can follow. You can leave any questions or comments below. I do want to thank you for watching, though. I know that this takes quite a bit of time, but I do appreciate the people that have followed me and keep track. And if you're new, I welcome you and I thank you for watching. You can find more of my content on this YouTube channel, which is GelatiSTA1, my Twitter, which is at GelatiLOL, my blog, which is GelatiLOL.blogspot.com, and my live stream, which is twitch.tv/GelatiLOL. I encourage you guys to tune in, see live gameplay, see Ranked 5's gameplay. The blog, I do everything from esports write-ups to LCS write-ups, patch analysis. I'm going to start doing patch analysis videos, maybe some team review videos, and just general strategy discussion. So I encourage you guys to tune in for everything league related, and thank you for watching.